Creo here for Umbra Games with a review of The Surge, released May 16, 2017 by developer Deck 13, the studio behind the quote Dark Souls clone, Lords of the Fallen. In the near future, you take control of Warren as he heads to the Creo corporate headquarters to become a part of their world-changing project to rebuild Earth's atmosphere. Warren is wheelchair-bound, but the promise of the rigs that Creo employees use will grant him the ability to walk using the metal exosuits. Turns out things aren't quite as promised though, as we're treated to a painful application of the gear in the intro, where Warren then blacks out and wakes up to a world gone absolutely crazy. The Surge is a similar format as Lords of the Fallen, a third-person open-world action RPG, where your character's actions are highly limited by your stamina meter, and one-hit deaths abound. Before I go further, yes, Lords of the Fallen was very close to From Software's Dark Souls, Demon's Souls, Bloodborne games and mechanics, and The Surge is a sci-fi version of that. These games are intended to be difficult, and to make you choose how risky you want to be, as your character's death means potential loss of experience points, unless you can find where you perished in your next attempt. The game world of The Surge seemed to touch on the small side, with 4 or 5 unique areas, one acting as the hub world, and about the same number of bosses. The ultimate goal is a little unclear as you make your way through your factories and laboratories, but you do get a little guidance here and there from a mysterious woman through the holographic communicator. Similar to games of this format, as you reach new places in each area, you open shortcuts back to the save point in the area. Keep in mind, enemies do respawn every time you visit. As I mentioned, all unspent experience points, or in this case tech scrap, will be lost where you died, and you have to reclaim it in the next attempt or it's gone forever. The Surge takes that mechanic one step further by adding a countdown timer to your lost scrap heap, where seconds can be added for each kill you make along the way. With Warren's rig, you use your experience in operation rooms to increase the power of the rig's core. This game allows you to bank unspent points when you're done leveling, which remain safely in the operations room even if you die. I think this is the first time I recall seeing something like this in the genre. Every time you increase the power of the rig, you gain a small boost to health and stamina, but more importantly, the power level is used to increase overall capacity for both gear and implants. The rig's gear is comprised of 2 arm pieces, 2 leg, a body, and a headpiece. Warren can also equip one weapon from a few different categories. A minimum rig power is required to open some doors and chests, as well as overloading circuits that hinder progression. Implants come in a few different varieties, including passive stat boosts and automated systems, as well as injectables that can restore health, or abilities that provide power boosts or convert energy into health. Energy is the bottom blue bar that fills with each successful attack on the enemy, and at specific thresholds provides power for finishing moves, drone attacks, and the ability you have selected. Now, what I personally liked about Lords of the Fallen that was an addition to this formula was a multiplier for your experience that increases with each enemy you defeat. The multipliers reset when you return to the save point. This mechanic persists in the Surge as well. One addition the Surge makes to the genre is the ability to target various body parts or appendages while you're locked onto an enemy. Most enemies have armor in the majority of their targetable points, but will usually have an exposed armor leg, or sometimes even the head, that you can do more damage as well as stagger them with. The armored pieces show as an orange colored hologram and the exposed points are blue. While locked on the enemies, you use the right stick to change this, which is pretty easy to use, except sometimes when you get surrounded or face enemies with changing weak points. Do enough damage to a limb when you do the finishing move, you have a chance to cut it off, which nearly always yields a drop from that enemy. Taking that one step further, this is how you gain access to pretty much all weapons and armor in the game. Weapons are obtained by severing the arm holding the weapon, and other parts, the first time they're extracted, will give you the blueprints to craft it. If you already have that schematic for that piece, you'll instead retrieve the broken piece itself, which can be converted into materials to craft and upgrade it. Upgrades are tiered in what's called marks, and each stage of the upgrade needs the appropriate limb mark piece, so hanging around an area and building a bit of a stock when you found an enemy that drops specific ones isn't a bad idea. Armor pieces have various stats, typical to the genre, draining stamina more quickly when you run or dodge as a trade for the heavier damage and impact resistance. The final combat change I noticed in this game is the ability to tap up or down on the right stick while defending. When he strikes high and you duck low, you can quickly press the attack button to do significant damage and often stun them, providing an opening for more hits. This became pretty crucial on some of the enemies in the later areas and ended up being pretty fun to use. Warren can swing weapons, both a light and heavy attack, and you'll get some combos out of different patterns. Oh yeah, the jumping mechanic for the genre is here as well, where you press in the left stick while sprinting to do an annoying to control jump. Never quite sure why this became the standard. The Surge does have a couple of side quests given you by NPCs you encounter. One wanted a specific weapon, for example, or a set of armor, or a special injectable found in only one place in the game. About halfway through the game, you obtain a drone, which is the only source in this game for non-melee abilities. You can cycle through any drives you've obtained for your drone, and I think I had a total of 5 or 6. Some provided incendiary damage, or ranged laser fire, or a shield. All drone attacks are powered by energy, which as I mentioned is built by making melee contact with your foes. The game does introduce a tiny bit of a Metroidvania mechanic, once by giving your drone the ability to overcharge special circuits to open a few doors you've passed, and another when you obtain the ability to open lock security doors, of which you've also passed quite a few. The game did feel a bit short on bosses, but the ones here were pretty enjoyable to discover the mechanics, learn the patterns, and eventually take down. Most of them had a pretty easy path to navigate, opened by shortcuts, where you could just run and avoid the enemies along the way when you needed multiple attempts to win. Deck 13 did noticeably strive to make the environment tell a story in the Surge. You'll often catch videos of the Creo CEO telling a story. There are a number of audio logs to be discovered that aren't just random backstory, but sometimes will detail something you're about to see in the environment, fleshing out some of the side stories of other employees. There is graffiti on the walls where employees have defaced signs, and suicide warnings here and there, showing that the life of these employees probably wasn't a good time. The Surge does feature New Game Plus modes with equipment that can continue to go up through New Game Plus Plus Plus, but enemies that scale indefinitely. Good luck with that. Overall, I wouldn't say the Surge revolutionizes the genre here, but its sci-fi setting, albeit troped a bit, was a nice change of pace. The combat system was fairly engaging and challenging. The boss designs were fun, even though more of them would have been appreciated. Dismembering specific limbs of enemies to obtain armor and weapons and parts was a cool mechanic. The world did feel a bit small, but the looping back design was well done. The story had a couple of good twists, and the environment often helped to flesh out the narrative. Rated on my action RPG genre scale of a true 0 to 100, where 50 means it's just average, the Surge hits a 77. This is Jiro for Umbra Games. Thanks for watching.